What's up everybody and welcome to the channel. In today's video we are working on the Civic Type-R, doing the next step to improve the handling. This car already handles like it's on rails. We just did the H&R wheel spacers to get these stock wheels sitting nice and flush to really help give it a more aggressive stance. But now it is time to lower it. We're going to be installing the H&R lowering springs on the FL5 Civic Type-R. As you can tell, we got the kit right here, front springs right there, and a nice set of rear springs as well. I'm going to have these products linked down in the description below. For those of you with the FL5 Civic Type-R, take a look at the links down below for the lowering springs for your car along with the wheel spacers. We've done this setup on most of our cars, my wife's Audi RS3, my old Toyota Supras, my old GTR. This is a really good way to get the car looking good and handling great without sacrificing any of the stock performance with the stock dampers or anything like that. So this is gonna be a really good setup already. This is the factory suspension with the wheel gap. As you can tell, we got about 3 fingers. I've already measured the ride height. We are at 26.5 inches for all 4 fenders. So first on the list, we're gonna use a 12mm socket to remove the bolt holding this brake line to the hub. And after that's removed, we can go ahead and just pinch and pull the plastic tab for the dampers. And then we're gonna use a 14mm pass-through socket and go ahead and use an Allen wrench for the sway bar end link. And then we're gonna take 2 17mm for the 2 bolts holding this strut in place. So with the upper bolts loose and everything else out, I'm just gonna spray a little bit of penetrating oil into the spot where the strut goes into the spindle. Using some flatheads, you can very carefully start pushing this down just a little bit. I'm also going to put a spindle spreader tool in the back just to open it up a little bit. All right, so a little bit of pushing it will also help wiggle it out. And then from here, put the crowbar in like this. All right, and that is almost all the way out. So as you can see, we have a lot of wiggle room now. Now, you need a spare hand, or actually a spare foot. Make sure none of the plugs are in the way. So with that, that really actually wasn't the worst. That was really annoying the first time around, but kind of follow those steps. It is going to be a little tricky. Just make sure you kind of wiggle it front to back when you're in there and kind of just separate a little bit as you pry down, and then the extra weight will help get it completely disattached. And then you can now take a look at your strut. So from here, we're gonna use a set of spring compressors. I'll have these linked as well, super inexpensive, and we can start disassembling. It's also worth noting there actually is a left and a right. You're gonna wanna take the one that has the same orientation as the spring. That way this piece actually fits in it. Might need to spray a little bit of this grease in here. All right, when in doubt, that works really nicely. And then onto the H&R spring, slide that in, and it'll come to a stop, as you can tell. So pretty nice with their design, just like that. All right, you can see that in the bottom. They'll line up with that little hole right there, and that slit lines up as well. So on to reinstalling these struts now. I've already gone ahead and installed it. You want to start by putting it all the way to the top and getting just a couple of these bolts on to hold it in place. And then you're just gonna press down on here, line it up, and then from here to wiggle this in place, just kind of wiggle this forwards and back, and you're gonna get this to slowly start seating itself. And then to further get everything lined up, we can take the floor jack underneath it, start lifting it upwards a little bit. We can wiggle it a little bit, and then we can go ahead and reinstall all the hardware. Next up, we'll just pop this brake line back into place and take that small bolt and get it tightened. And then we can go ahead and re-plug in the adaptive suspension. And the sway bar end link is last. And that is all installed. Got the lowering springs in, everything nice and tight. All the brake lines are good to go. I've already gone ahead, tightened up everything up here, snugged up that, put the rubber cap on. With the front all done, it is time to move on to the rear of the Type-R. Now I did the passenger side to get my bearings. That is a 5-minute job. So even if you might struggle a little bit with the front, however, if you hopefully watch this video in detail, you can hopefully knock out the front in about an hour total. The rear is so crazy easy. So I lifted that up with the jack just to support the lower control arm while I take these bolts out. And that's how you can easily get them out. All right, so kind of play with the jack up and down. That'll get these all good. And pry this down a little bit. And then from here, just use your foot and kind of twist the spring a little bit. And we can easily get it completely out. There's gonna be another rubber grommet in here as well. We're gonna take this off. I kind of like how Honda does these rubber stops. They kind of twist in and they have a spot where it actually has to go through the channel. It's kind of neat. And then once again, for the rear springs, you want to be able to read the letters on it. So these rubber silencers are going to be the top. Obviously you can read everything. So this, just slide it into the hole, twist it until it lines up with the bumper on the end. And then I'll take the bottom of this. As you can see, we have some dirt. Go ahead, clean it all nicely just to make sure everything is clean. And then in here, same thing, just with my glove, just getting all the dirt out from under it. What I found is easier, go ahead and reinstall this. There's these two little bumper pieces that need to click into place. And then push this down, and with the spring, once again, you're gonna wanna kind of twist it into place, line it up through that one hole that you will see, and just slowly twist it until it hits the bump stop, and then we can lift it back up. And then once again, we're gonna use the floor jack to help level everything and line up the control arm with the actual knuckle itself. And with all those bolts tight, we are done. That is about a 5-minute job for each rear. And then now we just gotta pop the wheels back on. So the installation is complete. We now have the H&R lowering springs in conjunction with the wheel spacers. So right now we're in the R mode. Let's see if we notice any improvements under my first initial impression. So I've driven it around a little bit just to kind of get my feet wet with it already. So far, now this car, it handles so good already. It feels even flatter. Now there was not even body roll before, but you can just tell now when you're hitting those turns, it is just so much more flat when it turns. So already I'm definitely noticing that. Cool thing is when I go into comfort mode, the adaptive dampers, of course, go into their softest setting, it feels pretty much the same as it did. Now, little bumps doesn't really feel any different than the stock setup, but then when you're doing those tighter turns, it feels flatter. Even in comfort mode, honestly, the car seems a little bit more nimble and better handling too. Once I do an alignment, which the car does definitely need, I will do a full review on this setup, my real overall thoughts after driving it, several miles, a couple hundred miles, stuff like that. But definitely one nice look at it. Once again, the wheel spacers that I have fit perfectly. Everything is still nice and flush. And then that wheel gap is significantly better than original. We're about 2 fingers rather than 3. H&R says these lower at 3/4 of an inch up front and then 0.6 of an inch in back. And as you can see, kind of similar in back that we saw up front. And then another last look, we'll put it into the garage, measure it after they've now settled for several hours. But I think this is a perfect setup. I didn't even scrape getting out of my driveway or anything like that. The wheels, nothing's been scraping. So I think this setup that I have now is a great conservative setup to look good, to handle better without any of the drawbacks with lowering your car and doing, of course, aftermarket upgrades. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look where we are settling at so far. So with the front, we are just under 26. So we're almost at 3/4 of an inch drop up front. Obviously, it might take another day or so to fully settle. The rears have only been on for a couple hours. Looks like we're still a little over 26. So I'll update the description as time goes on. Of course, these might take a little bit of time to settle, but obviously the car is gonna drop a little bit more as time goes on. And then don't forget, check out the link down below. If you have any of the 10th or 11th generation Honda Civics, I have a lot of them listed down there, so you can pick and choose them for your Type R, your SI, a few of the normal Civics as well. But there you guys go. That is a full installation of the H&R lowering springs on the FL5 Honda Civic Type-R. I would rate this maybe about a 6 out of 10. It just had a little bit of a learning curve to figure out how to get the front strut out of that spindle. Once I got it, it wasn't really that hard. So I would say just take your time with it, of course, and just kind of wiggle it like I did, and hopefully you'll get it out without stressing too much. The rears, that was a cakewalk. So not too bad of an install. And we are definitely improving the handling and style with the Type-R. If you guys enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, stay tuned for plenty more content, and I'll see you all in the next video.